Hello, ladies. I just pressed record. So here we are. I'm so happy to be with you guys. Happy mid-December at this point, almost December 11th, which is crazy. Okay, so I was so excited. I was thinking, how do I want to kind of decorate this? How do I want to make it a little more festive? And I have this super fun snowflake light thing, but I didn't realize or remember that they have those little red bulbs. You guys know the red light bulb that makes it blink, and then you can switch them all out and make them not blink. I have no idea where the bulbs to switch them out are. So we're going to have blinking snowflake lights in the background. If it starts to drive me insane, we'll just turn it off and have non-lit snowflakes. But for now, I kind of love it. So I'm so happy that you guys are here. I'm so happy to chat with you guys about this. And, you know, I fully intend for this time here to be festive and fun and all of the things. And hopefully you can hear some Christmas music, but you can still hear me well over it. But you know what has been on my heart recently? There's a hummingbird on the bird of paradise outside my window. I love Christmas in California so much. It's like 60 degrees and it's gorgeous. But it's been, I had dinner with some friends last night, and I've just been in thought myself. And this time of year can be a little intense, both emotionally and logistically. And case in point, my beautiful, beautiful snowflake lights. But there's so much that we can have as expectations for this time of year, right? And we are so excited for all of the perfect plans that we play out in our head. And we're seeing our home as decorated as one of the houses on the Hallmark movies, where it's like every single surface and like door has these garlands. It's like, it's impossible, right? And we see our children behaving perfectly, and they have exactly the presents they want. And we have all of this time left somehow to go to the spa and get the Christmas special treatments. And of course, we haven't gained any weight at all. In fact, we've lost some, and our skin is glowing, and we're completely rested, and we're, you know, interacting perfectly with our spouse or with our friends or with our family, right? We have these incredible expectations. And then instead, we can't get past the cardboard boxes in the garage to get to the Christmas decor. No, that's nothing personal. It's purely hypothetical. And like so many things can, and that's just one, right? Like all of these little tiny things cannot go as we planned or as we hoped, right? So today we're going to talk about how to be sexy, savvy, and sought after during the holidays. Yes, this applies both for single women and for married / taken women, whether you've been seriously dating somebody, you're engaged, you're married, whatever it is, right? I've realized, it's kind of a aha moment, that all women want to feel this way, right? We know this. In fact, you know, what I've been teaching for years is that your sex appeal and your femininity and your playfulness and your spontaneity don't end when you get married. They sure shouldn't. That man's going to be disappointed if that shifts, right? In fact, if anything, I want you to see life as this beautiful journey where all of those aspects of yourself get to deepen. And we just cast out these stereotypes of, well, you're married now. Well, you're a mom now. Well, you're a grandma now, whatever it may be. Therefore, that phase is over. The fun phase is over. The thin phase is over. The beautiful phase is over. The fun festive party phase is over. The phase of having it all together or being rested, fill in the blank with whatever you've told yourself, right? And then the flip side to that is that we may have this, this desire. We may have the pressure we put on ourselves to continue to improve in all of these areas of our lives. Maybe it's going well, maybe it's not, maybe we backslide, but sometimes unintentionally, we start to do it for someone else, right? We stay thin because our mother will make comments if we don't. We try to dress in a sexy way because we don't want our husband or our boyfriend to be looking at anybody else. We try to control our mindset and stay calm because we don't want our children to see us fussing at them, whatever it may be, right? And what I find is that that creates a double layer of stress, right? Because you've already put yourself under the pressure and the expectations of trying to be, you know, a very high standard. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's not worth it, et cetera. But it's like, you know, it's levels of mastery in multiple areas of life at one of the most insane blinking times of year. And then we feel like an extra pressure because we feel an expectation from someone else, right? We feel a sense of, if I don't do this, then they might, then they will, then they could, right? And all of these kind of fear stories, even panic stories, anxiety stories play out in our head about what will happen if we don't meet our own expectations, which we have perhaps even heard, hopefully not, from those people, or we've just assumed that those are their preferences or what they need in order for that relationship to be happy and healthy, or at least status quo, right? So what I want to encourage you is to throw all of that out the window, at least for the next 2 hours, preferably through the rest of the holiday season, preferably beyond into 2022 and beyond. Can you believe 2022, a few weeks away? I'm frankly very excited. I'm a little ready to be done with this year. And embrace looking at this from a completely new perspective. Okay, you guys know I'm a believer. I deeply believe in divine design, in the idea that God has created women and men to flourish in particular ways. And it's not necessarily a super narrow, I definitely don't think it's constrictive, even though people can think of it that way or have experienced it that way in Christian culture groups and a lot of church cultures, but it's actually very freeing because it works. But at the core of it is that it is between you and God, right? It is absolutely his gift for you. It is not his to-do list that he's handed you so that you can please the people who you have probably heard throughout life that you are obligated to serve or to please or to make like you, right? What God has not done is hand you a checklist of here's what you need to be to make your mother happy, to make your dad happy, to make your siblings happy, to make your colleagues happy, to make your husband or your boyfriend or your fiance happy, to make your kids happy. He has not done that. In my mind, what he has done is handed you the opportunity to step into the fullest expression of being a woman in all ways for you. In my mind, in my opinion, in my beliefs, as an act of worship to him, to glorify him, to shine. So people are drawn to you and then asking, why? What do you have? What is this? Where did you get it from? What is this? Ultimately they're going to find him, right? And it sounds a little insane perhaps to imagine that through the expression of our, even appropriately, contextually, sexual, feminine beauty, we could be pointing someone to God. I know that for some of you, you're just like, that does not compute. Those are two different things. We've got the Madonna and the, not going to say that word because I might put this on YouTube and they're going to censor it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a dichotomy. So what if it's not? What if you being an embodied woman in every way is not only not for other people, it's a gift from God. It's a gift back to God. And what I want you to hear is that God doesn't put pressures or expectations on your performance. Okay. This isn't some mean Santa Claus who's checking off how you've done this year in all of the different categories. Has she gained weight? Is she making more or less money? Does her boss like her at work? Is her home clean? Is it appropriately decorated? Are her kids well behaved? Like, that's not God. Okay. But sometimes we do that to ourselves. This is a gift. This is like, shake it out, right? This is freedom. This is your opportunity to be, frankly, more fulfilled than you could even imagine. And the beauty on top of that is, yes, it's fun. Yes, if you're looking for love, it will be easier to find it. If you're looking to retain a very healthy relationship, it can be easier to make that work. But even when things don't go as planned, you have this health in your identity, physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, sexual health, right? You have been attending to your own divine design, which means when life hits, which it does, which it will, right? Just some of the stories I've heard from women, even very recently, like disasters can strike in different areas of life when you least see them coming. But you've got this solid core of what looks to other people like an energy that they can't shake. You know what I mean? They can't take your positivity. They can't take your joy. They can't take your strength. They can't take your resilience. And depending on the nature of the person you're dealing with, that can be very frustrating for them, or it can be incredibly inspiring to them. And hopefully they will all move over into inspired eventually, right? Can't control that though. So what I want to encourage you today, as you guys are listening to this, is to understand that this is not a, hey, you're not doing well enough. Here's a way you need to be more, do more, put more pressure, more expectations on you in the hopes that God will be pleased. Someone will love you. You'll get, the job or the business you want. You'll get, you know what I'm saying? It's not a bargaining chip. Okay. This is not any of the toxic, unhealthy relationship dynamics that you may have seen or been through with you or with God or with other people. This is completely a gift from God, a joy to you. And will it bring in better results in the outside world? Most likely. And when shakeups still do happen, you'll have a stronger core to return to. Okay. This is like, if you are a believer also, this is your identity with God, like exploded. You know what I mean? That unshakable core you return to. If you're a Christian, you go like run to the feet of Christ. It's beautiful. Sometimes that's all you've got left, but this is like pushing that security, safety, well-being into the broader design he has for your life, right? So many women who I love dearly have a beautiful core, but they haven't allowed it to blossom into their health or into their relationships or into their appearance or into whatever, you name it. Those are some of my favorite areas, but there are many other areas, right? So I'm going to go through a few things today. We're going to talk about sexy, savvy, and sought after as far as what not to do during the holidays, how to not be sexy, savvy, and sought after, and what to do instead. Okay. And again, this applies to both married women and taken women and single women. But you first must be in that mindset that this is absolutely not one more thing to do, one more pressure to have on you, one more expectation, et cetera. Okay. We good? On the same page, in agreement? Okay. So I have my red marker thing. I double checked. I was first reaching for permanent markers. Thought, oh dear Lord, that would have been a disaster. So you guys will probably already, not be tremendously surprised by some of these, but I think you will be surprised, if not kind of flabbergasted, by the way they relate to attractiveness. Okay. And as I'll explain as we go through this, one of the deepest cores of attractiveness, which sounds a little funny to say, is being attracted to yourself. And for some of you, that may trigger a lot of things. Let me bring up a lot of things. And it's not necessarily an overnight thing where you get there. It can take you through a lot of trauma, a lot of old beliefs about yourself, a lot of habits and tendencies that maybe you have formed over years of handling difficult emotions and not knowing how to do it, right? But when you learn to be attracted to yourself, which is both an inside job and then it can manifest onto the outside, inevitably, you cannot help but be more attracted to other people. Primarily because if you think about not being attracted to yourself, right? What does that kind of mean or suggest? It means to some extent you feel like, fill in the blank with the word that resonates with you, but you're not worthy, you're not healthy, you haven't gotten it together, et cetera. We're focused on all of the reasons why we aren't, in our estimation, a successful or desirable person, right? So we're kind of living out that energy. And then secondarily, it also kind of can create an air of desperation. So either we're kind of withholding and pulling ourselves back from the world because we feel like we couldn't possibly be loved by other people because we're not lovable to ourselves. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, perhaps depending on your personality or the ways you handle shame, you may throw yourself out there hoping for external validation because you don't have the internal validation. And then that starts to look to other people like desperation, right? So when you return to yourself, which is why I began with this, and you're attracted to yourself. I wasn't planning on teaching on this, but I think we're just going to go there. When you're attracted to yourself, other people feel an ability to relax around you. Okay. Now, this isn't about ego. This isn't about arrogance. When I say attracted to yourself, I mean you are at home in yourself. You like yourself. You like your life. Doesn't mean there aren't things you want to improve, you want to change, but there's not either the attitude of desperation or of repulsion toward yourself, just like disgust and hopelessness and you're not feeling it. When we are so grounded in loving who we are, even though we acknowledge that we are not maybe where we want to be ultimately, we're enjoying who we are and where we are right now. Other people don't feel a need to come in and rescue your energy or compensate for your low energy, or compliment and affirm you, or start to kind of engage in any kind of emotional games where they make you feel bad or they make you feel good because they want to control your behavior in some way. I'm thinking family members or maybe toxic relationships, unfortunately. And they know that because you are emotionally unstable in yourself, they can manage like how you react based on how they treat you. Whereas if you are stable in yourself, one of the best side effects of this is that people who want to play games like that get very frustrated, and eventually they usually leave your life, or at least leave the room, because you don't play. You know what I'm saying? Like, you won't play their game, and they want somebody who will play their game. And if they can't get you to play, then they're going to go find somebody else who operates in the way that they want or need to feel their own emotional fulfillment, which is a discussion for another day. But then healthy people, right? The people you want to attract, both as men or as girlfriends or as colleagues, as peers, whatever. Like, it's almost like, in fact, I was just at this beautiful event with a whole bunch of lovely women, and there was such a noted difference in energy of the women in that room versus, not all, but some of the women outside of the room who weren't engaged in that kind of personal development work, working through their stuff, working through their trauma, working through their limiting beliefs. And when you're with someone who is at least self-aware, self-compassionate, but certainly when they've reached a point of just self-love, and they're not where they want to be, but they love where they are, you get to have the pleasure of engaging with someone who is exactly who they say they are, who is safe, who is comfortable. You don't have to take on the role of managing your own emotions and then trying to help them manage theirs too. And to someone who is emotionally healthy, that is tremendously attractive, right? Now, how many of you want to attract emotionally healthy men, emotionally healthy girlfriends, emotionally healthy, can't do much about family members, emotionally healthy coworkers, or employees if you run your own business? When you're in that space of love, self-love, you automatically become someone who other emotionally healthy, self-loving people recognize they can safely spend time with, give their contact information to, etc., without having invited a taker or a whiner or a victim or a martyr into their life. And emotionally healthy people generally, especially if they've really done the work for a while, build very strong boundaries around who they allow into their circle and into their time and into their lives, and certainly into their physical space. So it may seem like, how on earth can being attracted to myself make other people more attracted to me? But that is kind of breaking down why and how it works. There's, of course, the outer attractive parts, but as you become self-loving, it becomes less triggering, quite frankly, to look at yourself, to acknowledge what you do and don't like, and to decide to take certain actions. Now, I don't want you to be doing that until, or at least not until you've started some of the self-love work, because otherwise it's going to really quickly default into cycles that you may know all too well. I certainly used to, where I have to do this to be loved, right? I have to make myself look a certain way or act a certain way or whatever in order to be loved. But when you have rooted and grounded yourself in the self-love, I also don't want you to just, you can, but may I recommend that you then say, okay, I'm perfectly happy as I am. I kind of would like to have a little bit more of this result over here. So I'm going to go ahead and look at what would I like to change, or what would work well for me to change to get more of that result, right? When you're already grounded in self-love, and I talk a lot about this when I talk about beauty specifically, which we're going to get into a little bit at the end of today, you're able to detach aspects of yourself from your core identity. So for example, your relationship status, if you're single and you don't want to be, right? It's not a topic or an area of shame when you're already in a self-loving space, and yet you can acknowledge that you'd rather something be different, and you can take the actions to create something different without it being from a space of, oh my gosh, I have to, in order to be loved, which makes doing the work and getting the results so much more pleasurable and so much easier. So just as far as order, both matter in my opinion. If I had to pick just one that matters, yes, it's the self-love work, but I would love for you to do both, okay? And always starting with grounding yourself in that self-love, so that then when you move into the work, you're separating, you know, making changes to your appearance, making changes to your fitness, making changes to your weight, your body, your home order, whatever it may be, your social calendar. It's not determining your worth. Your worth is unshakable. And now you're looking at what results you'd like from this position of unconditional self-love, and you're altering certain factors that are not your core identity, like your hairstyle, your makeup, your workout routine, your daily diet, whatever it may be, to get the result you want, but it's not so that you can be loved. Do you guys feel that difference? I hope that this is clear, because it is essential. I see so many women who don't feel lovable, identify that, let's take the example of, it's because they have extra weight, so they want to go get love, so they're going to go lose weight. I would love for you to lose weight if you want to, you know, if medically it's advantageous for better health, sure. But if you've got to get to a place where you love yourself as you are, so that the whole process, and definitely even the result of getting the external result of hopefully weight loss, doesn't have pain to it. And the beauty of it is that then it's actually easier to maintain, because it's not something you're mentally connecting with punishment or not being good enough or with shame. The entire association is positive. You love yourself and you're excited to get this result. So you're going to go for a run. So you're going to go do the workout. So you're going to go buy the juice, etc. Right? Versus associating, I just looked in the mirror, or I just came from a party, I didn't get the results I want. It's because I'm a terrible person. It's because I'm a failure. It's because I'm too heavy and no one's going to love me. I have got to punish myself for having failed in this way, and I've got to go lose the weight, or whatever it may be, right? So what does this look like as far as coasting through the holidays beautifully with low stress, with no stress? Hopefully that's going to be the first thing we're going to talk about here. Right? How does it break down to actually be attractive to ourselves and thus to other people during the holidays? Always beginning with self-love, always beginning with the why, which is living out this incredible gift of being a fully actualized woman, who then attracts a lot of incredible things into her life and has this extraordinary life vest on when hard things hit. Okay, so number one, what not to do. Oh, I hope my red marker works, or we're going to be a lot less festive. I have another one. That's good. Oh, let's try the other one. I have two more. Perfect. Oh man, you guys, all my red markers are weak. If you can't see this, I'm going to read it out loud, and I'm going to try my other red marker. So, oh, you guys can barely see that. I'll have to go to black. Stressed is the first thing we don't want to do. Now, during the holidays, this can feel like, for some women, depending on their personality, depending on how they were raised, depending on what they saw their mother do, depending on how they reacted to what they saw their mother do, if they fell right in line with it or they rebelled from it, stress can feel like a badge of honor during the holidays. You know what I mean? And certainly like something that is acceptable, understandable. It's a great way, seemingly, to get out of things you don't want to do, right? I'm too busy, I'm overwhelmed, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed, etc. Feels very handy to use as a, I really don't want to participate in your holiday activity, I'm sorry, right? And yet, you know, okay, outside of conversations like that, maybe where you're like, oh, so sorry, so busy, so overwhelmed, we sometimes actually truly internalize this. I'm stressed, like it's Christmas, I'm stressed. And we hear it on the radio, and we hear it, you know, on TV or wherever, that this is part of the holidays. For some people, it's part of the whole year. But at the holidays, it feels like, you know, the sector of people who are pretty good at managing their stress during the rest of the year suddenly get this pass to allow themselves and to call themselves and to identify themselves and tell other people that they are stressed, right? How many of you find stressed women attractive? And I realize that most of us here, we're looking for the guys, or we already have one. But you see women on the street and you just, we're always kind of just noticing people who radiate a beautiful energy or don't. So when you see a woman who is stressed, are you drawn to her? Is your initial, I'm not talking about other things that may be part of the package of who she is, her, her fitness, her outfit, her whatever, her life and other aspects, but just the element of her stress, however she's expressing it. Maybe she's like kind of panicked, trying to please everybody, stressed. Maybe she's like super rude, super bossy, super, yikes, kind of stressed, whatever it may be. Do you want to be her? Do you want to be around her? Do you want to say, hey, let's go meet for coffee? I just love to chat with you. Do you want, you know what I mean? No, of course not. Absolutely not. We don't want to be around people who are stressed. We already have our own stresses in life. There's absolutely nothing in us as people that's like, wow, what I really want is friends who are more stressed out. And there is no man, your own husband, or the men that you're hoping to have find you or be interested in you, or the boyfriend you already have, who's thinking, I love it when my woman is stressed. It's like, said no man ever. Okay. So I recognize that for many of us, we don't necessarily see how stress could be extracted from the holiday experience and the holiday to-do list. And I can sit here and tell you that stress is a choice. It's a decision. You have to decide to be, decide to be calm. But the reality is that it's more than just a decision, right? There are some logistical pieces that affect us, that we actually have to take some kind of action on in order to change the experience of being stressed out. So one of the first things I want to encourage you guys is that there's a lot on your to-do list that doesn't actually have to be there. Okay. So for example, for me this year, Christmas is both in some ways logistically insane, and in some ways, some of the things I love most are going to look a little different, right? I could be incredibly stressed out about that. Or I could say, what's most important to me, you guys can't see this word either, I'll have to write it in black again in a second, is chill. That's my highest intention. When I'm around my children, they don't know the difference if every inch of the house is decorated, or if they have 15 presents instead of 10, or if, I don't know, if I manage to bake the cookies that are so incredibly sentimental. They know my energy. What they notice is how I behave, how I speak. Am I singing? Am I dancing? Or am I pointing and griping, right? Fortunately, I haven't been in that energy in a while, in quite a long time, because I've understood that even when I'm alone, and it's not saying like I'm perfect, please understand, like, cardboard boxes in the garage, right? There are definitely times when it's like, oh boy, but you have to decide what is the most important thing to me in this, and particularly during the holidays, what is most valuable in experiencing Christmas? And you will join a legion of women if your answer is, I need to experience all of these checklist items. I need to experience all of the pieces that to me spell out Christmas, right? I need to have the party that we always have. I need to attend these 10 other parties that everybody else is holding. I need to bake these 15 recipes that we never miss. I need to, have these 20 areas of the house decorated. There are many women whose definition of Christmas, and this can be a little harsh, and I also have been here, right? And in many ways continue to check myself when this comes up. Christmas by definition is a list of to-dos, right? Or it's a list of experiences even, which is not bad, but it gets us into an energy where we push ourselves to perform, to check off every box we can, rather than focusing on our energy and the nature of how we want to feel inside ourselves and to the people around us who we love as an attitude during this season, right? My children may very well remember, and they do, certain traditions that I have tried to maintain throughout the years. But the most precious thing to me, and if you think back to yourself as a child and you think of the parents you grew up with, or the people who raised you, kind of the places that you frequented during the holidays, you most likely remember certain decorations, certain songs, certain experiences, but probably you remember the vibe and the energy of the people there, right? So if you had grandparents, for example, who had an exquisitely decorated home and an immaculate Christmas party that was, perfectly executed, but everyone, especially behind the scenes perhaps, was yelling, was griping at each other, was stressing out, most likely that's not going to be your most positive Christmas memory, most positive Christmas experience. So I think the first thing we have to ask ourselves when we're choosing how to be attracted to ourselves, how to be attracted to other people is, am I falling into making my intention for the holidays more about a checklist than about my spirit, my heart, my attitude? Because like we said, no one is attracted to a stressed woman, not men, not other women, unless there's some kind of bonding experience, right? Which can be a thing. We're not attracted to ourselves. How many of you have had meltdowns before when you feel incredibly stressed and everything's going off? And we have to catch ourselves and realize it's because we've created this massive checklist instead of saying my priority during the holidays is joy. Even if things that I wanted to do don't get done, even if things that I really deeply had an attachment to going a certain way don't go that way. How quickly can you shift your paradigm back to joy? But we first have to be aware of it. We have to choose it. And then we have to kind of take some practical steps sometimes to actually remove some of those items from our to-do list, right? So no to stress, yes to chill. I'm going to rewrite it in black so that you can actually see it more clearly, or blue, or some pen that works. And then the next thing, oh, look at this, you guys. This is so beautifully dark and clear. We're going with blue and snowflakes for Winter Wonderland. Because red was not working for me. Okay, so very similar, much faster to get through, very pertinent right now with COVID. We don't want to be hopeless. And this is so easy to fall into. I think especially at like Christmas parties, holiday parties, optimistic. New Year's parties, I think it's going to be huge. It's so simple to gripe about what is happening in the world right now. All of the things that have been tragedies, and I'm not downplaying them. I'm not saying they haven't been hard and awful. I'm not saying don't have compassion. I'm not saying, brush right over them at all. But there's a different space of being truly without optimism for the future and specifically for your future. And it's like a toxic cloud that no one particularly wants to be around because we're all already fighting for our own hope. Okay, so if there's someone at a party and they are just like convinced that 2022 is going to be just as hard as 2020 and 2021 because of whatever, politicians and rules and, deaths and whatever, no one is drawn to that, not even them, right? So when I talk about femininity, there's always an internal and an external. And one of the biggest mistakes that people will make is that they will assume that femininity is one or the other. And it's really both. It's an outward expression of the physical manifestation of being a woman. And internally, I'm getting a little bit into stuff I'm going to be teaching in Decode the Design next week, but it is a combination of good character as a person and a delightful, angelic, sometimes almost childlike in its faith, just joy and hope overflowing spirit. I guess I was in the co-working space that I sometimes use. And I love watching women. I love watching men. I love watching the dynamics. I can't help myself. It's just what I love. And I love asking, like, what is it that makes some of these women attractive? And it's not always how they look. Now that helps for sure when it comes from the right space. But I noticed that when a woman is simply open to her feminine, right, which is a deep discussion we don't have all the time in the world to go into today, and she's filled with joy. She's just cheerful. She's just hopeful. She's choosing an attitude of being chill and relaxed and keeping her intention and her priority on her joy and her mood and her attitude versus did she create the ideal experience by checking everything off of the boxes? She cannot help but be attractive. I mean, you send a woman who has attended to her body, to her feminine appearance, and has joy into any room, and men will notice it. It can't be helped. Okay. So these things might seem like, yeah, everybody tells me that. This to me is one of the core. I mean, just like cut off one side or the other side, right? First, just imagine someone who's stressed and hopeless for the holidays. Okay. And again, horrific things truly can be happening. I completely understand. I'm certainly not downplaying them, but let's just imagine that this is someone with a relatively blessed, normal life. No one's recently died. They haven't just lost their job. It's like things are relatively stable, even if they're not ideal. And yet they have been in cycles of choosing or kind of not even knowing that they had been trained into using stress as a badge of honor and operating from a position of hopelessness. Oh, you know what I mean? I don't want to be them. I don't want to be around them. I'm sure you guys don't either. I'm sure they don't even want to be around themselves. But we can accidentally stumble into that. And the holidays for many people become an excuse to have this attitude. Okay. So now take someone very simple who's just chill and optimistic. Everything's gonna be fine. It's all good. Oh my gosh. The catering order went completely awry. And now all we have, instead of a beautiful buffet of vegetables and like sandwich trays or whatever, is like 15 boxes of donuts because they swapped the order. We're having a donut party, folks. You know what I mean? Like it's all a decision to choose chill and optimist. So then I want you guys to think, okay, what does that look like? Like if I were to choose to be in, pick whatever word resonates with you. If it's calm, to me, calm sometimes it just depends on your connotation. In my mind, sometimes calm almost feels like a forced energy of retaining an exterior composure. Whereas when I'm chill, I'm just chill. It's all good. We're fine. Whether anyone's around, it's not something that I'm deciding to retain my calm composure. It's just being chill about whatever. So choose a word that resonates with you, but I think you understand the energy is a little bit lighter. There's nothing like a facade about it at all. This is authentically chill. Okay. And optimistic. So like, I love that right now the song playing, if you guys can hear it, is Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. What would it look like to have this attitude of chill, optimistic joy? Are you dancing around? Are you skating? Let's be clear. Are you skating around the wood floors of your house, dancing to Christmas music in Christmas socks? Are you singing while you're mixing the batter for whatever you're cooking? That I'm probably not, but I am very impressed, right? Are you playing Christmas music? You know how many people, certain people, some people, not hopefully too many out there, will decorate with like laser focus on getting the decorating done. And I'm like, could we play some Christmas music? So how can you create an experience, an ambiance of joy in whatever you have to get done this holiday season? Remembering, can you imagine how happy would you be just to be around yourself with this attitude? Right? Alone in your house, you're happy. You can imagine how many people are drawn to that, right? Okay. So relatively quick, relatively short, but I want you guys to understand this is kind of the core, the internal. There's two more that could go with this. I'm going to try to kind of combine them. And then we're going to get to some of the external stuff, which I know many of you are much more interested in, but this is key. Okay. So I'm going to pull these two together, react versus intend. And then the other one that I'm not going to bother to write partly because it's very long, and I can also throw it into this, is you either run yourself ragged or you rest. Right now, legitimately, sometimes during this month, you do have things you have to do, and heaven forbid there is a crisis in your family. You have someone who's sick and in the hospital. You have a child who's struggling. You have, a parent who's suddenly moving in with you, whatever it may be. And the pace is fast. Right? And we can say rest is an attitude, rest is a mindset, and that's true. I also want you to find as much literal time to rest as you possibly can, because being sick is certainly not fun or productive or attractive, obviously. So, I'll just throw that in there as kind of one more thing to think about. But this, I think, sums it up beautifully and includes so much more. So this is similar to what we've been saying, but it kind of involves that whole other people component, right? These things you can choose. It may take practice, it may take intention, it may take a conscious decision to do it, but it's just controlled by you, right? It's pretty internal. This one is too, but it's in relation to the other people in your world at Christmas time. This is, for many people, one of the most emotionally difficult, emotionally triggering, fights erupt, conversations get hard. It's like, the things that we've avoided all years with coworkers or family members or our spouse or our children can sometimes all come to the surface right during this delightful celebratory time of month, right? And so we can react to it. We can react to, our boss making some really unfair decisions about how we get to spend our time. We can react to our family members who are doing all kinds of toxic things and hoping that we will respond in the unhealthy, unbalanced ways that we have in the past so they can continue to control us, like we were saying earlier. We can react to ourselves in a way. We can get dressed for a party and look at our weight and be incredibly unhappy with it and react by not going, or react by saying, you know what, I'm just going to go and I'm going to eat whatever I want, drink whatever I want. Who cares? No one's going to be attracted to me anyway. At least I'm getting free food, whatever it is, right? We can react to others, react to ourselves, or we can set a beautiful intention for, again, how we want to feel, regardless of what's going on around us. Okay. It doesn't necessarily change the things that are going on around us, but it makes a huge difference in our experience. I was telling my daughter this actually just 2 days ago, in our whole experience of life, because we get to call the shots on our emotional state. Okay. So your mother can do whatever she wants to do. Your daughter, your sister, your husband, your boss, your boyfriend, the guys at the party, the, petty coworker, female women at the party, whatever it is, they get to do what they want to do. The one thing they're not allowed to do is control how you feel about it. They may try, or they might not even be consciously trying. But when you recognize that no one gets to call that shot except you get to instead set an intention to say, how do I want to feel at this Christmas party, at this family gathering, as I'm out shopping, as I'm trying on outfits and seeing what fits this year and what doesn't? How do I want to experience this event, regardless of some of the external things that might actually happen? And that allows us to shift into optimism and being chill. And you can see how it's, a loop. It's a beautiful cycle. We set an intention to feel this way. We feel that way. It's easier to set a positive intention. It kind of builds on itself, versus allowing something external, which is less than ideal, to make us feel stressed out and hopeless. Right? Now, I want to say one other note about hopelessness. One of the easiest ways to stay stressed and pessimistic is to not feel any hope for change. And this is what I find at this particular time of year, this particular month of December, it can feel like we're all on pause, right? We're both running hectically and normal life is on pause. So we can cook these big meals, we can plan parties, we can buy presents, we can do unusual travel, we can see unusual family members, whatever it may be. It's like a month where our normal life, where we have our systems and we're kind of running things as we normally do, is put on hold so that we can have Christmas, however that looks for you, right? And I think in that, it can, for some people, depending on what you're struggling with, it can feel like this long slog through aspects of your life that you really don't like, but you can't, or you feel like you're unable or less able to do anything about this month, right? So maybe it's your weight. Why bother to lose weight in December, right? Why bother to start a fitness journey in December? January is coming. Why would I do it now? Or it's your marriage or your relationships and everything's tense and it's like, I've just got to make it through 31 days with these crazy people. You know what I mean? Like, or it's your finances, or it's your job, or it's the disorder of your home, right? Most of us are not deciding that December is a fantastic time for deep cleaning. Instead, it's like chaos, more Amazon packages than you knew existed showing up at the door, and all of those delightful cardboard boxes that don't fit inside one recycling bin, so they take weeks to get out, right? And presents and decorations. So it can feel, and maybe you've not noticed this, but I finally recognized this for myself, so I hope it's helpful to you. There can be a hopelessness in December because we're in this spin cycle of celebrating the holidays, which hopefully is chill and we're optimistic and we've set a beautiful intention and it's a lovely experience, but nothing's really moving forward. What I want you to remember, if you're feeling hopeless at this time of year, and I'm not trying to speed you past Christmas or keep you from embracing and experiencing this beautiful month fully, is that January is coming. One of the most reassuring things to me when there's an area of my life that I am just not feeling, it needs something to be changed, is that I can change it. Like there's, and this is why people love to search diet plans, or they love to research vacations, or they love to, I don't know that we love to research marriage conferences, but you guys know what I'm saying. We love to set our hearts on the idea that in the future, there's some kind of system, process, recipe, experience that's going to change this part of our life that we are not enjoying, that we are not feeling right now. And recognizing that there's something that feels tangible, that feels like it will create some kind of better reality, better life for us. We can hold on more easily during an earlier season when we can't change it yet. So if, for example, your weight is a struggle for you and December feels like another 10 pounds, let's be real. December feels like, what's the point? And not only am I not going to be able to lose weight right now, I'm probably going to put on more weight that I then have to get off. But if you have in your mind in January, I'm just making stuff up here. In January, I'm going to a wellness retreat halfway through, and I'm going to be doing, I'm not a big fan of cleanses, but I'm going to be doing clean eating. I'm going to be doing, daily workouts with the trainers there. It's not an excuse to go crazy in December, okay? But it allows us to say, it's not hopeless. It's just not right now. That's huge. There are some things about Christmas this year that I don't like. But instead of getting into the mentality of, this is it, huh? It's like, this is right now, but something better is coming. It isn't that, as I spin into my beliefs real quickly, isn't that for many people, the message of Christmas, right? Which is, if you're a believer, always has its eyes on Easter too, but even just the arrival of Christ at Christmas, something better is coming. Hold on. So if we can remove ourselves from hopelessness at Christmas, what a beautiful way to honor God, if that's a priority to you. And it certainly is to me, just a firm grip on something better is coming. I might be in a cycle right now. I might not be able to move forward in it right now, but it's right around the corner. I know it's coming, and to have that certitude, right? So spiritually is one thing, but in these areas of our lives that we want to improve, it does help to have some kind of, you don't even have to have all the details, but if you have a girls trip planned in February, you have, I don't know, maybe you're chatting with a guy online through some kind of dating app and he's with his family for Christmas. So you can't meet up yet, but you're going to meet in January. Like, it's some hope for the future. which allows us to get through, I hate to use that word, but I think you guys know what I mean, to go through the holidays with more grace, with more chill, with more optimism, with a gorgeous intention that something is coming in the future. So this month might not feel like forward motion, but I can settle into the different pace and the different focuses that it has because I have hope for what's around the corner. That's big. Can you imagine meeting somebody and as you're imagining how to be sexy, savvy, and sought after, one of the my favorite practices or exercises to do is imagine talking to a woman at a holiday party, right? And so just try on all of these things on a hypothetical person who you're chatting with. We've decided that someone who's stressed and hopeless and reacting to everything is not a pleasant companion, not to other women, not to men, not to herself. But imagine a woman who, life is a little crazy right now, but she's got this beautiful plan for early, hopefully first quarter, one would like to hope, next year. And you can just see in her face this angelic peace around knowing that even though right now it's maybe not ideal, or maybe it's not here yet, she knows it's coming. So she can hold her drink and she can be in her dress and she can chat with you. And there's a smile on her face that is of being at rest with where she is right now. This is getting so spiritual, which is always happens when I start talking. She knows what's coming. So whether it's Christ himself or whether it's an action that you're taking to move a particular area of your life forward, so that even though it's not moving forward in December, you have the peace in December of knowing that it's coming in the future because you have a plan, an idea, an action, an event that's coming. You guys see what I'm saying? I hope that's making sense. Okay, let's move into the outer stuff. Okay, this is perfect. I'm right on the hour. So the outer stuff, I'm going to leave this up and try to write underneath my snowflakes so you guys can still see in my blue, because apparently Winter Wonderland is our theme. And the first thing I'm going to go with is actually right in line with what we were just talking about. To write a little bit smaller. So this is what we don't want to do. Oh man, my spelling when I'm on video. Okay, overindulge. Hopefully you guys can see this. Would rather do, this might not make sense, but stick with me, is to actually indulge. I know that doesn't make any sense. It goes a lot with hope, right? So if you are, I'm just going to stick with the weight example because it works so well for this. If you are not at the weight you want to be and you feel like, what's the point? I'll just go to the holiday party and I've seen this and I have done this. I'm going to circle that food table like it is the only thing at the party. And I'll just talk to other people as they come up to eat too. And I'm going to try to make it not so obvious that that's what I'm doing, but that is totally what I'm doing because, it's free food and it's a lot of food and it's delicious food. And I've essentially given up, at least temporarily, but possibly with, more of an overall feeling of hopelessness on my weight. And I'm just going to eat all I want. Right? It could be alcohol, it could be shopping, it could be, pick your poison, if you will. But we often overindulge when we're in a space of hopelessness. We think it's celebratory, but it's usually not. It's usually from some sense of void. And hopefully, if I just have more of this, I'll feel better because I feel so hopeless about ever having true pleasure in this area. So you can see what we're actually going for is true pleasure. Many people think the opposite of overindulgence is restriction, which is why we overindulge, because restriction certainly doesn't sound fun, right? So since I'm going on a celery, and this is not me, this is hypothetical. Since I'm going on a celery juice fast on January 1st, I'm going to have all the eggnog, all the desserts. I'm going to eat until I can't eat anymore. And then I'm just going to wait for it to settle a little bit so I can fit in a little more, like 20 minutes later. I've done that, thinking that my other alternative was restriction. The other alternative is true indulgence. It's just indulgence, period, which if you have a negative connotation over even just the word indulgence and not even overindulgence, that can feel like, oh my gosh, but I couldn't. How would that wouldn't give me what I want. What if true indulgence is going straight for exactly what you want? Instead of dancing around it so many times, by the time you finally give yourself permission to have it, you've spent hundreds, if not thousands of other dollars. You've eaten hundreds, if not thousands of other calories. You've wasted hundreds, if not thousands of other hours because you couldn't give yourself permission to just indulge in the one thing that you were truly craving, right? So let's say, for example, there is, and this, I'm making it up, but it sounds delightful and I'm sure it exists somewhere. There is some kind of lovely French bakery that makes the most extravagant chocolate drenched confection, and you like dream about it. You freaking dream about it, but it's, you know, it's not as cheap as a donut at the store. And it's, you have to stand in line to get it. Maybe you have to order it a couple days in advance, etc. And you love that, but it sounds difficult. You don't think you deserve it. You probably don't have the time. And isn't that kind of selfish to insist that you have to have this particular chocolate from this particular bakery? And so instead, you're going to go to a box of Dunkin' Donuts, no offense to Dunkin' Donuts, and you're going to eat like 3 or 4 of them and feel awful, hoping that, you know, it'll create the same experience, right? But you're not just letting yourself acknowledge what you want. Maybe what you really want is to allow yourself to spend one full day at the spa during Christmas season. How dare you, right? How dare you take a day of rest and pampering when you have so much to do for other people? But because you can't give yourself permission to spend that kind of time or perhaps that kind of money, I highly recommend Groupon, but that's another conversation. You instead kind of meander through stores that you really don't need to be shopping in for gifts that, you know, aren't necessarily critical on your list. And you spend an entire weekday or Saturday not really enjoying yourself, spending money you didn't need to spend, buying presents for people who, you know, they're not going to be that meaningful to them, because you kind of couldn't take that step over into, I'm going to allow myself to spend a day resting and being pampered and focusing on beauty and maybe taking in a journal and reflecting on the year and praying over the year ahead and having this incredible experience that feels so decadent that possibly, depending on the family you're from or your girlfriend group, you might not even want to mention to certain people because you feel like you'd be so judged. But that's what your soul, maybe even your body, which could be tired and low immunity, is really craving. So instead, we do things we don't need to do because we didn't give ourselves permission to do the thing that we did need to do. Now, again, let's play our little game of meeting the woman at the Christmas party, right? We have a woman who just isn't giving herself permission to do the darn thing she wants to do, to wear the thing she wants to wear. I went out to dinner the other night and I wore a dress and I thought, this may be slightly overkill for the establishment, but I wanted to wear the dress. And I try to stay within the realm of what is appropriate for the venue and the situation, but I allow myself to decide, what am I going to feel fantastic wearing? I don't play the games anymore. I'm not sure when I last did. It is a long time ago of, hey, so what are you wearing? Oh, what are you wearing? Well, what color is it? Well, how short is it? Well, no, what do I want to wear? What do I want to experience? And I, again, keep it in the realms of what makes sense, but it might be a little dressier than what other people have on. It might be a little flashier. It might be a little edgier. It might be a little more feminine. But I feel fantastic because I gave myself permission to go straight for what I wanted to do. And instead, I'm not in the Christmas party in the same black shift dress with black pumps and, you know, everyone else is. And I'm having the time of my life. You guys can do this too. You want to talk about attracted to yourself, giving yourself permission to, and we're going to talk about what actually works in a second, but first giving yourself permission to just be who you want to be how you want to be. So many women come to me and they want to know how to stand out in the sea of women while still honoring themselves. This is one of the best ways to do it. Learning to follow your intuition and your desires to give yourself permission for the one thing you actually want or want to do or want to wear or want to buy versus all of the filler that you're using to try to chase away that desire that feels a little too something that you haven't given yourself permission for whatever reason. that no one else is doing. And so wouldn't they judge you, or wouldn't you look weird? Or, okay, you don't have to tell them if you're not ready, or that's not, there's no need to go create a situation if you don't have to. This is for you. Or if you've been doing this for a while, giving yourself permission, and you know that your next step is to allow people in your life who might not be on the same page to know that you've done it, or you're doing it, or you're going to do it, and practice holding your ground and knowing that it's a yes for you, even if they can't handle it for whatever reason, right? But in the beginning, you don't have to do that. Just start giving yourself permission to say yes to the one thing, so you don't stuff your life, your body, your closet with the 10 things that were a no. Cool? Okay. Next, I have 2 more. Okay, this was a fun one. So now this is actually not a no, okay? I'm not against looking festive. We're getting into like true external, etc. But what I often notice, and it is, oh my goodness, there's so much more to this than meets the eye. Let's put it that way. There are a lot of women who, it's Christmas time and they do want to be chill, they do want to be optimistic, they want to have joy, they want to experience it, it's going to be awesome. And in appearance, they choose to look festive, but they don't necessarily look feminine. Right? So this is the woman. And again, I love this. I think I told you guys, and I could not find them, but they're somewhere. I have reindeer antlers. I have Santa hats. I don't have any of those light up Christmas light necklaces. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to do that, but women who go all out with like the Christmassy stuff, but they're still bearing their femininity. You know what I mean? It's a woman maybe who is hiding behind a lot of extra weight, who covers that weight in an almost completely black colored wardrobe. But then she's got the Christmas blinking lights, for example, all over her, maybe her jewelry, her office cubicle, etc. It's festive, but it's hiding the feminine. Now, this is my personal preference, but if you guys are here, you're probably resonating with what I'm teaching. Feminine is life. Now, it's not always, you have to know how to judge the situation, right? So if I'm going to go and serve at a homeless shelter, I am not going to look and express femininity in the same way I am with, at a holiday party with a man. Like it's a completely different experience, right? So it is definitely something that is based on the situation. And I'm a big fan of appropriateness rather than black or white, do you or don't you? It's where are you going? What would serve the people who are there? What's kind of, again, that realm, that range of what is appropriate for the situation. And then within that, within what is going to be loving to the place that you're going, how do you want to express yourself? Do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes I think people take one piece of that or the other and don't always get the kind of results that they want or the reaction they want. It doesn't even feel good inside them. But when it's appropriate, can we please return to the feminine? Right? And it can be both. You can have the blinking reindeer, headband if you want. That's cool. With hair and makeup and an outfit and to me, a feminine demeanor, unless you're truly going for straight sex appeal for whatever the situation may be, a feminine demeanor is just joy, right? It's just like it's a joy-filled woman is almost irresistible without anything else going on in her. Doesn't mean there aren't hard parts of life and that going through periods of grief and despair isn't completely acceptable and normal and understandable, and that sometimes the joy just isn't there. But in everyday normal life, when things are pretty status quo, joy is one of the most attractive things you can cultivate, which is why we started with it, okay? Again, you have joy and you add some feminine. If you're taking great care of your body, sometimes even if you're not, just a joyful feminine female is like, what is it, catnip, right? It is like super attractive. I'm not a cat person, so I don't know all my terms. It's like a dog bone. It's like all attention goes there and it just brings life, okay? So now you may be asking, well, exactly does it look like to be feminine? What like, okay, I understand festive. blinking reindeer antlers. Got it, Jackie. Thank you. What does it look like to be outwardly feminine during the holidays? So that brings us to our final difference and some very exciting stuff I want to talk to you guys about. This is, okay, can we be real? The word basic, it's like a thing, right? And I still am not even clear on the definition. That's so basic, she's so basic. Like I don't even really know what that means, but I think I kind of get the general idea, and it fits perfectly because it starts with a B. And this is about going or being able to go, most specifically, again, because it's always, to me, situational awareness, situational appropriateness, that range, and then kind of shooting in that range for what brings you joy and expression. Basic to bombshell. Yes. Now, I mentioned a few weeks ago, gosh, maybe been not yet months, it's not yet months, but a couple weeks ago, I was talking about something called the beauty signals. And this is, it's a whole training of its own and something I will be training on in the future, but it's also something I'm going to be teaching and walking women through who want more hand-holding and support around. So what I have found over years, almost a decade, even before I started this particular business, of helping women who wanted to feel, present themselves as more attractive, specifically to men. But again, from that self-honoring, beautiful space of feeling in alignment and authentic with how they were doing it, right? And what I see women do, first, I'm just like, show me what you got. You know what I mean? Let's see like what we're working with here. And in their closet, in their makeup stash, in their hair tools, and certainly usually when I would ask them, will you go ahead and put on makeup, or will you show me what you would normally do? Because I don't just want to shove a solution on someone. I want to escort her habits from what is already kind of ingrained into something new, right? So I don't want to just kind of plop something on her that won't be integrated into how she already behaves. I want to truly evolve what she is doing on a regular basis from kind of old ruts and habits into a new beautiful rut and habit. Okay, rut's not the great word, but a new habit, a new norm. Okay. So a lot of times I would have women come out and they've got on like, blue eyeshadow perhaps, or just a little bit of some random color of eyeshadow and like one coat of mascara. That was real common, kind of like totally flattened hair, or, and I actually naturally have extremely frizzy hair. You wouldn't know because I've had so many keratin treatments at this point, but, it was kind of like, okay. That's what we're starting with. Or especially during the holidays, everybody seems to feel that red lipstick is the solution to all holiday attractiveness. And I want to show you guys a Pinterest board that I have in just a second here. But what I have noticed over the years, and like I said, I study women, I watch women, when I've been in relationships, it's like, I watch the reactions of even when I'm not in relationships, I watch the reactions of the guys I'm around to the women who go by. Okay. And what I found is that what we think, sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, as an attractive woman is not necessarily the aspects that men are drawn to. And it's not, and of those aspects, there are ones that are instant and temporary. Like he sees something out of the corner of his eye, he turns his head because to him it was a visual cue that is an attractive woman. And then he takes a better look and he looks away because he was wrong, right? Okay. Or he looks and he stays. And I'm not saying that, this is what all guys do, but just of the idea of there's kind of a flash of, oh, that seems like an attractive woman. And then there's a kind of deeper inspection, if you will. It's a woman who truly is radiating feminine attractiveness and health, right? And I've broken these different beauty signals, is what I call them, into categories of health, feminine, and cultural. And in fact, do I have it with me? I may have it with me. I'll get it for you guys in a minute. But I've literally over the years and now codified into like a guide exactly what the signals that make a woman kind of instantly and then over the long term attractive to a guy. And they're not always what we think. So one of the most reassuring things is that we often think, oh my gosh, to be attractive, I have to be perfect and I have to look like these photoshopped Victoria's Secret models. And it's just like, I can't, it's never going to be attainable. So why don't I just not try? And then I know I'll resent men because I can't meet the standard that I think they have for finding me attractive. You guys ever felt that way? I've been there before, right? Where it's like, I can't do it. So I'm just going to give up and get angry. And every now and then I'll try. And if I don't get the feedback that my deep longing, not yet self-loving, not yet centered in being attracted to myself and understanding that this was all for me the whole time, I'm going to just be even more wounded. And maybe I'll keep trying, or maybe I'll just give up. And how many women do you see walking through the world who have just given up? And you have the women who have given up and they're still sweet spirited. And you have the women who have given up who are mad, right? And they walk in that energy of anger. So much of it comes from what I call the beauty wound. Now, obviously not all problems in life are based on the beauty wound, but a lot of the hurt dynamic between men and women, the misunderstandings and the things that just aren't working as far as true physical attractiveness and sexual appeal are based, I deeply believe, on this beauty wound, which is both internal and then it reflects into the external. So back to some practical stuff for the holidays. So many women, again, maybe they'll wear a red outfit. Maybe if they're ashamed of their weight, they'll hide it in black. I don't judge either way. You can have a great looking black outfit, but I encourage you in the spirit of being self-loving and choosing what you actually want to do instead of avoiding the desire you have to just wear the thing you want. But from the makeup perspective, you know, I have one board up at a time. I'll show you guys several boards. One of the silliest things I see is women who put on bright red lipstick. And you know what? I have two devices. I'm going to show you guys a comparison at the same time. And do no eyes. Do no eye makeup, okay? So let me see if I can look this up real quick to show you the comparison. Red lip. I'm not even going to put in anything about the eye because there's going to be people who don't do. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. Can you guys see that? Is there a little bit of glare? I see this. Oh, there's an ad. I see this all the time. My hand on it. Maybe it won't move. Okay. She's got some eye makeup on, but it's basically a little bit of shadow and maybe a coat of mascara. Okay. Now, will you please look with me? And if you guys are unable to watch this, you can watch the replay because the video will be there. At a woman who, I actually saved this for the hair, but you can see the eye makeup, is nude lipped, but has defined her eyes. I don't know that I can describe why this is. I can just tell you that it is. A woman who has on eye-defining makeup, which to me, and in fact, I think it's still live on my Instagram stories, and I'll try to highlight it. But I showed you guys as I was putting makeup on last night, the transformation of not having on eye makeup and then putting on some eye makeup and then finally putting on lashes and liner and the difference that it made. And there's something about it that is inherently like signals sexy female. It just does. And I know they say eyes are the windows to the soul and all that kind of stuff, but there's something about it that just makes an incredible difference. And part of the beauty signals and why they work. Yes, there's the part that shows that the woman is healthy. There's the part that shows that she is open to the femininity aspect, which is kind of what I'm about to get into. There's the part that shows she's kind of culturally aware is the word that I want to use. And what I mean by those last two is that even if she's not physically in the best shape of her life, she doesn't meet all these impossible feeling beauty and appearance standards, the effort that she's put in is actually what's attractive, because it shows that this is an area of her life that she is open and willing to attend to. It's like if you've ever seen the adorable romantic comedies and they've got multiple, love stories going on at one time, and they've got the young couple that's falling in love, and then they've got like the older couple that's like, reigniting, there we go, the feelings they have for each other. And maybe she's let her appearance go, and then the young woman or whatever comes and helps her do her hair, do her makeup, and she shows up at the party and her husband's like, what? It looks like a totally different woman. Sure, she looks different. Maybe she looks more alluring. She looks more feminine. She looks more sexual, whatever. But a huge factor in what's so appealing about that is that the woman put forth the effort, right, to show him or herself or whoever, that she cares about herself as a woman, which suggests what? Which suggests kind of unconsciously, subconsciously, or if we're aware of it, very consciously, that that whole side of her is open. That if a man approaches her or is with, like, let's be real, married ladies, your husband still has to approach you. He may be married to you, but, initiating sex or initiating a date night or initiating a difficult conversation, there are still approaches, even when you're married, and showing through caring for your physical appearance, whether it's at one Christmas party or hopefully more frequently than that, is that feminine side of you is like open for business. And I'm not talking about sex exclusively even, right? I'm just saying you're available to him as a man, as a woman. And there are so many women in the world, for many different reasons, many of them very understandable, who are not available to men as a woman. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they aren't behaving in a certain way. They may be super promiscuous, or they may be completely closed off and, hair completely cut off and dressed like a man. And, I'm not saying in a cross-dresser kind of way or anything, just like not open to feminine appearance in any way, and very much showing that, right? So it's not necessarily her actions that show whether she's open to a man. I mean, it can. We might think that a promiscuous woman is open to men, but if her heart is not open to receiving men as a woman, she's not really open. She's just it's all surface level physical interactions. But there's something that is so appealing to men about a woman who is open to them, in the same way that a man who is gracious and gentlemanly and aware and kind and considerate and also attentive is like super attractive to us, right? It goes both ways. And part of what we're showing before we get into our heads and our cycles and our triggers around, well, I don't want to do that for him, he hasn't done that for me. Part of what we're showing is actually just love. It's not even about sex. It's not even about, I sure hope he still likes me, or I'm going to try to keep his attention. It's just unconditional love. If I'm bothering to do something, knowing that it will bring you joy, but still being rooted in, but ultimately, even if I don't get the reaction that I want from the guy, I'm doing it for myself, from a space of self-love. And again, when we're not swinging back, I hear so many women who are like, I'm just going to date myself for a while. And I feel like, do both. You know what I mean? Why can't we be self-loving, doing it for ourselves and for God, and open to the man or the men around us, right? It's not an either or. So the beauty signals are incredibly powerful. In my mind, they make, I want to give them more credit than they're due, because, it's not like this is divine, but they make it possible for every woman, regardless of her appearance, regardless of her weight, regardless of her health status, regardless, even there's an incredible woman I follow on Instagram who just weeks after she married her husband, they were so happy. They were both horrifically burned in a house fire. And she is almost completely burned. Her face is completely disfigured. It's, it was intense. And yet she wears wigs and puts makeup on as best she can, the lashes that are left. I mean, it is incredible. And why? And as you read her story, she talks about the fact that she does it for herself. And she also does it in a way because she does care about her husband. So it's like, we can get caught in this. Is it wifely duty, or is it what women have to do to get men? Or is it, well, I don't even need him, I do it for myself? Why can't the love that we have for being a woman and being alive be so overwhelming and overflowing that it's both? Right? Like, I do this from the source of God within myself that is, I just can't contain it. So of course there's overflow. Right? And if he's in the room, he can enjoy it. And if he's not, I'm going to enjoy it. When we're in that energy, we're irresistible. And it's not an act that's put on. It's not a manipulation tactic. It's not, how we are when we're with guys, and then we get home and, the bras come off and the masks off and makeup comes off and you better leave me alone. I don't feel like talking to you. Right? It's like, this is who we are. I'm not saying when you get home, don't relax, but you guys know what I mean? It's not put on. It's not a facade. It's one manifestation of the overflow of loving our life and our total design as a woman, and not cutting ourselves off out of triggers, out of anger, out of reactions, out of resentment from any of the sides that God has given us in this magnificent design of femininity. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope it does, because this is life-changing and game-changing if you allow it to be. So I have been working with some delightful women who are dating and sexy, savvy, and sought after. And I've been chatting on the phone with women who are particularly interested in the beauty element. So I would love to invite those of you who are asking yourself what might be next. How can you take this deeper? You love the concept, you get the overall idea, but how do you live this? I'm actually opening a track of sexy, savvy, and sought after for married or taken women who aren't actively seeking a guy, who already have one, and they want to reignite, keep that fresh, bring new life into that, and do it again from the space of not trying to get him, trying to keep him, trying to reel him in, delighting him for sure, but out of a space of delighting in themselves and delighting in their total God design. Okay, so sexy, savvy, and sought after will essentially, it is the overall program. And that if you are dating, we will continue to have the parts of that program that talk about how to do a grid search for one good man is what I call it, and how to both online and offline be attracting men, selecting from those men, and protecting yourself in those situations. And then for the married women, it's definitely going to be focusing more on the relationship that you're already in. How do you reignite what you have? How do you kind of analyze how it's going and then explode it into the next level of a beautiful commitment? And then for those of you who don't need or who are mostly interested in just the beauty element, I'm also going to finally be opening Allure School, I believe is the name that has been settled in my spirit at last. But this is essentially the beauty bombshell, is probably what the free trainings about it will be called. And this is just how to heal the beauty wound and live out the beauty signals for a beauty breakthrough. That is already part of Sexy, Savvy, and Sought After for any of you who are thinking, wow, both of those sound actually really good. But for the women who are only focused on that, or they just want to begin with that, it's a very powerful step. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I started as a model when I was 15 years old, went through modeling school, John Robert Powers, if you know that, they had Jackie Onassis on the wall as their poster child, learned how to walk, learned how to sit, learned how to do my makeup, and then ultimately decided was offered to go to New York and instead went to college, which I do not regret at all. God had a very specific trajectory for me, and there wasn't even a question in my spirit that I was going to go to college instead. But model on and off throughout the years. And to say I know a lot about not just outward beauty signals, but the inner work that it takes to make sure that your identity is not wrapped up in how you look. I mean, God chopped that the bond that I had to my ego and my appearance off at the knees. That was firmly removed, and yet not rejecting situationally appropriate, beautiful, feminine, sexual, even outer beauty in the name of being beautiful inside, right? It's the both and. So the mindset work it takes to heal the beauty wound by extracting your identity from how you look and yet redeeming how you see very sexual and feminine and gorgeous manifestations, different manifestations of beauty for different situations has been, without me even really knowing it, one of my life lessons. And it's one of the things I haven't yet passed on to women. And I feel it is time and it is critical. So that's what we're going to be doing in Allure School. We do get into body language, and as silly as it may sound, how to walk, how to sit, how to hold yourself in a feminine way. And as silly as it may sound again, how to not, right? In those situations where you're with the man and you can, whether you're married and this is someone else, or you're dating and this is somebody you're not interested in, how do you turn off the kind of allure signals that you don't want to be giving off? So you become a full master of your femininity in the way you live it out in the world, in the way you express yourself in different situations based on your goals, your desires, what's appropriate, who's involved, etc. Right? So if that is of interest to you, I would love to chat with you. I have a little bit of open space on my calendar in spite of this very, very busy month. And this is something that I think I'm more excited about this than anything I have ever done. I really do. And I have loved some of the things that I have worked with women through over the years, but this feels like it's approaching, and possibly even is, like the culmination of all of my passions, all of my training, all of my gifts, all of my talents and strengths, and very painful lessons in Sexy, Savvy, and Sought After, both for single women and for married women. We do talk about sex, not even necessarily, even if you're not sexually active, how do you become very comfortable with sexuality? We work through any unhealed trauma around that, not even necessarily from having been abused in any way, God forbid, but just from culture, from the lies and the misconceptions and the stereotypes of men and women and what men want or men need. Even this weekend, having conversations with women, it shocks me how hurt and angry women are with men and sex, and how much of it is based in things that aren't even true about men and about sex. But if we're not taught something different, it's what we learn to believe. So that's part of Sexy, Savvy, and Sought After. The Allure School is just the beauty side. But I am so convinced that this is the kind of work that changes women, which changes relationships, which changes families, which changes family dynamics, changes the household energy, changes men, changes communities, changes churches, changes workplaces. It seems frivolous at times, but if you think of how impactful women are, and I think we don't realize how much we control the emotional health of wherever we are. We kind of set the tone. I mean, unless there's a truly abusive man who is controlling the situation, in general, women set the tone. And when we are healthy and when we're whole and when we're healed, everything blossoms around us. And the generations that come after us that are watching are led well rather than misled. It's so worth it. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it has been helpful. And I want you to, at the same time, understand that this is incredibly important and significant, and also remove any pressure, any expectations you've had on yourself to get it right, or seeing this as a one more thing on your to-do list. This is about casting off the to-do list, stepping back into your identity, determining that you're doing this for God, for you, and out of the wholeness and the healedness of living out your design, the to-dos that matter all fall into place more beautifully. Okay? So much love to you. If you'd like to chat with me, the website you go to is jackielacroix.com/apply. Have a beautiful December, a magnificent Christmas. I know I'm going to see many of you back on here for various other trainings and events I'm holding, but this one is one that I am probably the most excited about. So I so hope that it has served you. Let me know what you think. Feel free to DM me, send me an email. I'd love to hear your stories and your thoughts. And of course, I'd love to chat with you just to get to know you better and to see how you can step into the next era of your life as fully sexy, savvy, and sought after. All right, ladies, Merry early Christmas. Happy December. May it be beautiful, chill, full of hope and optimism. Lots of festive femininity. Enjoy it. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.